homesteading to prepping to common horse sense, we are College Hill Farm. Welcome back to College Hill Farm. Well, today I've been at this gardening stuff for about 50 years, ever since I was about 8 years old. Mom and Dad had us in the field with a hoe. Well, this year I injured my right shoulder over the winter, and this year I get to garden in a weird way. I didn't start till really late. As a matter of fact, today is June the 28th, and I'm just now getting started on my little garden. Now, we learn more from our failures than we do from our successes. You know, in Star Wars, Yoda says, successes or failure, the best teacher. Well, it's exactly right. Failure is the best teacher. The sun's just starting to crack the horizon over here. It is like 6:15 in the morning, and it's already 75 degrees out here. It's going to be a smoker today. But let me show you what I've got going on. The cucumbers, for some reason, didn't come up, and I'll tell you what I think it was. Right here's where I planted the cucumber hill, and not one came up, plenty of weeds. There's another hill, none came up. Another hill, and finally, one hill had a cucumber in it. So I'm going to get these weeds chopped down. This one was a failure. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hills of cucumbers. There were actually 6. I plowed one up yesterday. There were 6 hills of cucumbers here, and none of them come up except one cucumber. And I'll tell you what I think it was. The sun. Well, I'll put you back on the tripod and we'll talk about it. The squash is doing okay. It needs to be hoed out. And then this is the wild part. I didn't plant these. Those are volunteer squash. And all the way over there's another volunteer squash. So the squash have decided to really come on. But the cucumbers haven't. Let's talk about why. Now, I planted my cucumbers. You saw where we planted them, straight 8s. And when I planted them, we had a wet day that evening. We got a pretty good rain. And then it turned off dry for 9 days in a row. So I think what happened is a couple of the cucumbers germinated, sprouted, and it turned off so dry it just desiccated them, because I didn't come out here and water them. I don't do that. I let Mother Nature do the watering. But I've never planted them this late in the season as a first plant in the cucumbers, so that might have something to do with it. So I'm going to get these hoed out and planted, and then I'll show you my next failure. So let me get at that. I went ahead and cut down all the weeds. Well, I went down and cut down all the weeds and left the one cucumber. Then I just went ahead and finished planting the entire row. What did I learn about this one? Well, you learn something every time. If I'm going to plant all the way up in June, and I planted way up in June, if I'm going to plant all the way up in June, if it comes a little rain, and then it don't rain for 9 or 10 days, you need to come out and water at least once in that time, maybe twice. I don't like watering. I like Mother Nature to do the watering. When I plant in May, I don't have that problem here in central Kentucky. For the most part, this has just been a weird year. Weird on my part and weird on the weather's part too. So now let's go down in the hill garden and look at my other failure. Okay, here is my second failure this year. And these 3 rows, right here, right there, and the next row over, there should be 60 tomato plants and 60 pepper plants. But what there are, here's a tomato, then there's not another tomato till all the way down here. And then there's 2 or 3 tomatoes at the end of the row. There are no tomatoes in the second row, and there's only 8 or 10 pepper plants that made it. What was happening to them, if you'll look right here, I'll let you look at the base of this tomato. What do you see? See how that stem has been skinned? That's skinned by a rabbit. That's what rabbit damage looks like. Now I'm going to cover that up in hopes there'll be some roots grow there. So the rabbits have laid waste to my tomatoes and peppers. Now I've probably got, looking down through there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I've got about 17 of the peppers that made it. But I've only got about 5 or 6 tomatoes that made it. So that was my failing. Now, I couldn't do anything about tomatoes. But let's look at what I did, or about peppers. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't find anybody that still had some pepper plants. Walmart had some, but I'm not paying $4 a plant for it. So let's go look and see what we did. Oh, and if you look, see all the little dark places? The little bitty, looks like little bitty footprints? Rabbit tracks. Well, there's a lot of those rabbits that didn't make it into happiness. I came out the other night and there were several of them that they just couldn't make it. I don't know why. If you've ever gardened, and this is the end of June, the 28th of June, and you had a hard time finding plants after the end of May. Well, this is the end of June, so I had a real hard time finding plants. The Amish guys didn't have anything. I went over to the Mennonites, and they had some. I wound up getting some Beefmasters. And some black Brandywines. Then over here I got 44 Romas. Well, the cows are letting me know that they're over there. I got 44 Romas. So at least that's something. Romas are cannibal. So what I'm going to do today, it's already almost 80 degrees out here this morning, and it's just, what is it? Just 7:06. So I'm going to try and get these in the ground today. I wet them real good. I showed you at the beginning of the video, watering. That's what I was doing. I was watering these tomatoes so I could plant them. Now, any of them that look damaged too bad, I won't put in the ground because they'll just be a disease vector. I'm not going to do that. But most of them are probably okay to get in the ground. I'm not going to show you planting these. You know how I plant them. I use my pipe planter, so it makes the video go longer. But after I get them planted, I'll show you the result, and then I'll come back and talk to you about what I'm going to do about where the tomatoes are over here, and tell you my last failure. Well, it won't be my last one this year. It'll just be the most recent last. Okay, I put in 44 Roma plants, a whole row. You can see them right back there. And then right over here, I put in 12 more indeterminate tomatoes. Of course, the Romas are determinates. Of those determinates, I put in Beefmasters. 8 of them were Beefmasters. I've grown Beefmaster before. I'm not a super fan, but it's what I could get. But I also got something that interested me. This is a black Brandywine. Now I got 4 of those. Now we grow a yellow Brandywine and a red Brandywine. So, and we save seed to them. So I thought if I liked these black Brandywines, I would do that too. My favorite tomato is Cherokee Purple. You all know that. But I couldn't get any this year. I couldn't start my own in the basement because of this shoulder. It was just a matter of I couldn't carry stuff. I just, you know, and I don't ask Crystal to do all that stuff. She's not a gardening girl, okay? That's just not what she does. She cans and puts everything up and loves jams and jellies and all that stuff, but she's just not a gardening girl. So you've seen my two of my failures this year. I have a third one that I can't show you. My third failure is here in central Kentucky, when the temperature goes above 90 degrees, we have an evil little creature. It's called a chigger. And I didn't pay enough attention about the chiggers. They show up anywhere there's shade. Or they can show up anywhere there's shade. You never know where they're going to be. So preemptively, I use Cutter or Deep Woods Off or something like that to protect myself from the chiggers. Well, I didn't do that this spring. And I am covered up with chigger bites from my ankles, well, my toes really, from my toes all the way up to my belly, to my belt line. It's not good. So that's another failure. I'm spraying up every morning now. It's back to the spray. It's like a religion here. It's the cologne on College Hill Farm, Deep Woods Off. Now, I've got to get in out of this weather. Those of you who follow the channel, you know that I dedicate a large part of this channel to helping people with disabilities be able to garden. Show them ways to overcome limited mobility, people who can't bend over and all that stuff, so that they can garden and have a little garden and garden on into their 70s. You know, do what you want to do and be happy with your life. Well, I've got multiple sclerosis. That's why I started this. And when it gets real hot outside, it causes me to have severe fatigue problems. And if I get too overheated, I can't feel my hands and feet at all, hardly. Can't hardly walk because of it. So I've got to get in out of this weather. It's 8 o'clock. I say it's 8 o'clock, but yeah, it's 8:03, and it's already 83 degrees out here. We're in kind of the middle of a heat wave, so I'm going to get out of the garden. I've got one more thing I got to do before I get out of the garden, because it's supposed to rain today, and if I wait for it to rain, I won't be able to do that thing. So I've got one more thing to do before I go in, but it shouldn't take me 30 minutes. If I don't do that, if I don't get out of this heat, if I stay out here, I can stay out here at 12, 1 o'clock, all right, and be okay. But by this evening, I'd be so dead I couldn't hardly hold my head up. And it would be that way for 3 days. Okay, I wouldn't be able to do nothing for 3 days, lay around. That's it. Be in my pajamas for 3 days. So I don't want to do that. I need to get out here and weed and hoe and do all the things that you have to do on a homestead every day. So now if you like this stuff, this homestead and do-it-yourself kind of thing, be certain to come on out to the channel and subscribe. We do this homestead stuff every week, sometimes one, sometimes 5 videos. Just depends on what's going on in the homestead that week. Now if you hit the little bell when you come to the channel, it'll notify you when we upload a video. We upload every Sunday. Now, with that being said, it's time for me to get on to that next thing.